Hi, it's Mary, a traditional Chinese medicine tutor and an acupuncturist in Canada.
Taking a child's pulse differs from taking an adult's, as a child's pulse is much shorter and faster than an adult's. Usually, for a child under 10 years old, we use one finger to feel their pulse. For a baby under 3 years old, we observe their index finger vein instead. This video explains how to take a child's pulse and the clinical indications of a child's pulse condition. Method of taking a child pulse.
For a child under 3 years old, we are usually
Not going to take their pulse.
as a child in sick cries a lot, which makes the pulse not accurate. We usually use the index finger venules
To inspect the child's condition. If we do take a child's pulse, usually we only use one finger. We call it a twinkle pulse, felt with one finger. In the pulse examination, for example, this is a child, we only use the thumb.
to palpate a child's pulse.
In pulse examination, a physician holds a child's hand with their left hand and feel the child's pulse with their right thumb. For children under 3 years old,
You know, the hand is so tiny.
you put the thumb on the child's guan in the high bone. Put it here. This is enough. We don't need to differentiate the 寸关字. For children under 4 years old, use one finger, usually thumb as well.
Put it on the center line of the high bone.
Roll back and forth to take the pulse. For children between 7 to 8 years old, the 寸关尺 can be taken by moving a thumb. Still one finger, but you're moving back and forth, not rolling. Back and forth to feel the pulse. For those over 10, pulse taking is the same as for adults. To take a pulse of a child, only light and moderate pressure are given because of insufficient kidney qi.
The pulse is not palpable under heavy pressure. If palpable on heavy pressure,
It is equal to an adult's firm excess pulse.
Normal pulse rate for a child.
There's one thing we might need to remember. The normal pulse rate is different from the adult's pulse. For a child under 3 years old, a pulse with 7 to 8 beats
per breath,
is normal. 5 to 6 years old, 6 beats is normal, but over 7 beats is the rapid pulse, and less than 4 or 5 beats is the slow pulse. The younger the person is, the faster the pulse throbs.
that is roughly to say around 120 beats or more per minute for children under 3 years old is normal, and about 90 to 120 beats per minute is normal for children 5 or 6 years old. As a comparison, more than 120 beats per minute in an adult is usually considered a racing pulse, but it is usual in children under 3. A pulse rate of about 90 to 120 beats per minute is generally regarded as a rapid pulse in an adult, but it is considered normal in children between 5 and 6 years old. A pulse rate under 60 to 90 beats per minute is normal in adults, but slow for children about 5 and 6 years old. Besides, children's pulses are not stable and can be easily influenced by various factors, such as crying, moving, and eating. We need to be aware of those influencing factors when palpating a child's pulse.
Child's condition is different. Their hearts beats much faster than adults. You need to notice this part to adjust your definitions of the rate. What is slow pulse and what's rapid pulse?
Child's pulse indications.
When we take the child's pulse,
We don't go into that much detail
to look for the 28 or 29 different pulses. For children's pulse,
we look at the depths.
it's a floating pulse or deep pulse. We look at the rate. It's a slow pulse or rapid pulse. We look at the strength. It's a forceful pulse or forceless pulse. The floating or rapid pulse suggests a Yang syndrome. Deep and slow pulse suggests a Yin syndrome. To remember this, just remember what's Yin and what's Yang. Forceful or forceless pulse suggests an excess syndrome or deficiency syndrome. Forceful
is an
excess syndrome.
forceless pulse is a deficiency syndrome.
Rapid and slow pulse suggest heat and cold respectively.
Rapid is associated with
Heat syndrome. Slow pulse
is associated with
cold syndrome.
floating, deep, rapid, slow, forceful, and forceless features of a child's pulse can help us understand the 8 principles of syndrome differentiation for a child's condition. These 6 basic types of pulses can combine to occur. For example, a floating and forceful pulse indicates exterior excess syndrome. A deep and forceful pulse indicates interior excess syndrome. A slow and forceless pulse indicates deficiency cold syndrome. A rapid and forceful pulse indicates excess heat syndrome, etc. The methodology of explaining the clinical meanings of a child's pulse is the same as the orders. Having said so, children can have other types of pulses as well, such as slippery, tight, or moderate pulse.
A tight pulse suggests cold, moderate pulse suggests dampness, and irregular pulse suggests retention of food, respectively. Deep and slippery pulse suggests retention of food and phlegm. Kids usually easy to have food retention. Floaty and slippery pulse suggests wind phlegm.
A child's pulse is a little different from an order's pulse,
but the principles are the same. If you find this video helpful, please give me a like, subscribe to it, and share it with others. See you in my next video. All the best!